Hey y'all. So, um, yesterday was Darius Jr.'s birthday, and I was thinking about how his birthday always brings all these emotions because I know how because I remember my emotions at that time, um, around the time he was conceived. So we conceived Darius when his dad uh, was in the middle of his dialysis treatments. We were doing dialysis at home, and I was going through the process of trying to see if I was a match to donate a kidney for him. And I was sitting in the doctor's office, one of many doctor's appointments I had. It was one of the last few doctor's appointments where they were telling me that I was a match, that everything was good, that they would be proceeding with the living donor donation, and that basically, they would take one of my kidneys and give it to Darius. Because, I mean, we were a perfect match. They did all these kind of tests, and we were like perfect, which is weird. Like, what are the odds that you are like a perfect match for your husband, right? And so I was excited. I'm like, oh yes, like we can finally get off dialysis. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready to move forward. They had went through all of these steps of making sure that I really wanted to do it after they found out I was a match. And they were going through all of these questions trying to make sure that, I really wanted to do it and Darius wasn't pushing me to do it. And I knew like all of the downsides of what could happen. I mean, they went as far as to say, you do know that you could die on the operating table. Like we don't have any, basically we're not God, like anything can happen. And, I had to go through all of that. And I was like, yeah, I understand y'all not God, anything can happen, but I do put my trust in God. So, but during that appointment, he asked me, did I plan on having any more children? And at the time we had two daughters. One was biologically Darius's, Hannah, but Darius had always been there for Haley since she was one. So basically we had two daughters at the time, and Darius is an only child. I'm the oldest of seven, but Darius is the only child, and I remember telling him, yeah, I plan on having another baby. My husband is the only child, and I wanted a son. And he said, I don't think it's a good idea for you to have a baby after you give one of your kidneys up because you can have issues. He was like, it's not going to be like you can still get pregnant and everything, but he was like, you could have issues if you only have one kidney when you are going through pregnancy. And I remember being like, oh my God, no. Like, no. And he was like, okay, so I think you should stop and talk to your husband about it because I'm not going to proceed until I'm 100% sure that you are ready to proceed with it. And I remember going home and talking to Darius about it and telling him we need to have a baby now. Like, we need to go ahead and have Darius Jr. I knew that was going to be his name. I was like, we need to have him now because they're telling me that I can't, it's not a good thing for me to, basically go through pregnancy with one kidney. We need to go ahead and have a baby. And at the time, with Darius being in the middle of dialysis, he was always tired. Conceiving a baby was the last thing that we ever did, because when your body is going through that type of stress, that type of chronic illness, you're that's the last thing your body wants to do. And we were literally like, he was never in the mood. I was hardly in the mood, but with his body going through what it was going through, if anybody's on dialysis, you understand. Like, we were like, that was like the last thing. And I'm like, I need to have a baby. Like, I really need to have a baby now. And it needs to be a boy. Like, it can't be a girl, because we gotta have this baby so I can go ahead and donate my kidney. And I remember praying after that, Lord, the next baby needs to be a boy. Like, it has to be a boy. I have to give my husband a boy. We need to have a boy. And I was led to this book, and I've talked about this so many times, How to Choose Your Baby's Gender. And I followed all the steps for that. And I don't know if it was that, or if it was God, or if it was both. But I ended up having a boy. And so excited. That's Darius Jr. His birthday was yesterday. So thankful for him. But to end that story, after I had that baby, I started back going through the process of trying to see if I was a match for a kidney. Because I had to basically, they already knew I was a match, so I didn't have to go through all the steps, but they like picked it back up. And at that appointment, they found out for the first time that my blood pressure was elevated. Like, I never had high blood pressure before in my life, and for the first time it was elevated. And he actually mentioned, was there anything I had changed recently, because my blood pressure was elevated. The only thing I could think was that, I was more stressed out because we had been doing dialysis, and I had a new baby. And I was like, maybe that's contributing to it. I don't know, because he thought it was odd, because all of my blood pressures before then were just perfect blood pressures, even through pregnancy. Even though I had a 9-pound, 2-ounce baby, even though Darius was 9 pounds, 2 ounces, my blood pressure was never an issue. And it wasn't until I started back up that my blood pressure started becoming an issue. Well, that delayed it even further, because he was like, well, we're not really sure if we want to continue. We have to talk about this. I have to talk about this with the other doctors to make sure that we still want to use you, because if you have high blood pressure, and it wasn't that high, it was a little elevated. It wasn't like astronomically high, but it was more elevated than it had been. It was like a little over the normal numbers. And he was like, sometimes we do it, but most of the times we don't, if we start to see you have high blood pressure. And I was devastated. I was like, no, I don't want to continue. I need my husband off dialysis. Like, this is really interfering with our lives. And it was basically a hold. Well, they went back and talked about it or whatever. And he came back. They called me back or whatever for my next appointment. And I came back for my next appointment, trying to see what they said. And he said he talked to the doctors, and he said that the doctors talked about it, and they decided that it was okay. Like, my blood pressure wasn't that high. It hadn't been elevated before then. And my numbers weren't, it was just a little elevated. He was like, they thought that they could continue on with the surgery as long as I was okay with it, basically. Because they were like, we just want you to know that with you having high blood pressure, if it continues on. And then they gave me some steps to relieve it. The only difference from last time was that I weighed a little more, because I had just had a baby, like within the past year. And it was probably a year after I had the baby. And he was like, the best thing for me to do would be to get back to my normal weight. And that should help out, just try to, eat healthy and get back to my normal weight. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, how about they make another appointment for me to come in and talk to the doctor that was going to do my surgery, because they had like the doctor who does the surgery on the donor, and they have the doctor who does the surgery, at least at this hospital at UMC. They have the doctor who does the surgery on the donor, and the doctor who does the surgery on the person, with the kidney failure. And my doctor, oh, he was so nice. Oh, I loved him. As soon as I met him, I'm like, why are you a surgeon? You need to be talking to, like, patients. Like, I don't know. I guess he talks to surgical patients, but I'm like, you need to be a normal doctor. Not normal, but a regular doctor. I guess he said, no, he don't, because surgeons make the most money. But I had never met a surgeon that was just so down to earth, and I really loved him. I can't even remember his name, but I'm pretty sure I have the paperwork. But he was talking to me. He was so nice. He was telling me about the procedure and all that. And then he began to tell me that, y'all already know about UMC and Blue Cross Blue Shield. At that time, he said Blue Cross Blue Shield and UMMC are going through this thing where they're not covering Blue Cross Blue Shield. And he was like, it just happened, like literally since your last appointment. I think my last appointment had maybe been a couple of days before. He's like, since your last appointment, Blue Cross Blue Shield is not covered by us. He was like, so we can't even continue on with the surgery because I don't want y'all to be in debt because the surgery isn't covered. And he was like, we're going to finish this appointment. We're going to get ready and make sure that we are prepared for the surgery until Blue Cross Blue Shield and UMMC come to an agreement. But he was like, I can't promise you when that's going to happen. And so we're not going to continue on with the surgery because I'm not sure if it'll be covered. I remember thinking, wow, these roadblocks in the way for me to give Darius my kidney. Like, everything was like cool up until that point. He was like, we can't do anything. And I said, oh no. I was like, seriously? And I remember thinking like, and I asked him, I said, well, I really don't want to be on dialysis much longer. I said, I went and I had a baby, and came back and wanted to continue on with the surgery. I said, are there any more options? And he told me, he said, well, you could try another hospital. He was like, you could either do, Alabama, UMC, UAB, or go to Louisiana. I forgot what hospital that one was, but he was like, you could do one of those if you really wanted to. I'm not telling you to because I'm not supposed to because, I work here, but you do have that option. I was like, okay, so how do we get that started? He was like, oh, you just contact the hospital, and they'll get everything started and set up. And he was like, they should still be covered under, with Blue Cross Blue Shield, but, just be sure, Blue Cross Blue Shield should be covered, but just make sure. And I remember thanking him and, just really feeling like, really. And so from then on, I went and talked to Darius. We contacted UAB and started getting the process started over there. The good thing about UAB was that if you had a living donor, you would definitely get a kidney because basically they do this, I forgot what it's called, but it's like this match network thing where even if you don't match with the person you're trying to donate, they basically see if I didn't match with Darius, they could see if I would be a better match with somebody else who needed a kidney in their system, and then somebody in their system who matched with Darius would be matched with him. Not necessarily anybody but they're going to try to find the best match for you, which was a good thing. But the bad thing was that we had to start all over with the process completely start back over with the process. And we started back over with the process at UAB, and immediately my blood pressure was elevated. Like I said, not too much elevated, but UAB, they were a little different. They were a lot more cautious. And my doctor told me, look, we got to get your blood pressure down. I need it normal or below because I'm not going to risk, taking one of your kidneys if you have high blood pressure because your kidneys, you might end up needing your kidneys, both of your kidneys later. And I don't want you having to come in here and having to do another transplant because you need a kidney, And they were just really cautious. And he was like, I can't take your kidney. And I remember being devastated again. Like, really? But he was like, the good thing is that Darius is on our network, and he's going to be on the list, and we're going to continue to work with you. We'll go through the process with you, but we're going to have to work on getting that blood pressure down. And I think about that. This was supposed to be a video about Darius Jr. and like the memories he invokes, his birth invokes for me. And I just remember that, and I remember how in the middle of me trying to give my kidney, God was basically throwing roadblocks in my way. And I couldn't understand at the time. I was like, literally, I'm trying to get off dialysis. I'm trying to get my husband off dialysis so we can live a normal life. Because if you're on dialysis, you know that life. And to be on dialysis in your early 30s with young kids, it was a lot. And disrupted our life so much. Like, we couldn't even go to family functions like we wanted to. Everything was around dialysis. It was so much. And Darius was always stressed out. He was always tired. He would be depressed because he couldn't really play with Darius Jr. like he wanted to. He would talk about dying. I didn't understand at the time because I was trying so hard to get off dialysis. And nobody else was trying to see if they were a donor. So I knew it was up to me. And when they told me that I was a match, I knew I had to step up and do what I needed to do for my family. And like, God was throwing up all these roadblocks. And I realized why he was doing it. It was because literally he had a kidney for him coming. And he was trying to slow me down and say, look, hold on, girl. Like, it's a good thing you're trying to give your kidney. But have a kidney for him. You don't have to give up yours. Because literally, not long after that, he had a call from UAB. And I guess all this happened just so we could end up at UAB. You know, like if I had never went to try to be a match for Darius at UMC, that doctor would have never advised me to switch over to UAB. We probably would have never switched everything over to UAB. We probably would have still been at UMC, just waiting out that disagreement between UMC and Blue Cross Blue Shield. But because that doctor advised it, or he suggested it, he said not to tell anybody that he suggested it, but he did. You know, if he had never suggested that and I had never went home and told Darius probably would never switched everything over to UAB. So I guess all that happened. I guess I went to see if I was a donor, and just so we could be referred to UAB where God wanted us to be, where a kidney would end up matching for him. And he would end up getting that successful transplant in 2019 at UAB. And I would turn around and say, look, the Lord would turn around and tell me, look, you didn't even have to give your kidney. This is what I was trying to stop you from doing, because I knew already that I had a kidney coming. And as far as now with my blood pressure, it's pretty stable. Gosh. You know, I had my last baby, very last baby, thank God. I had my last baby last year, 2022. October 2022, I had him. Last son, Darius has 2 sons, thank God. You know, I think about how only a few years ago he was on the dialysis machine, feeling depressed because he was thinking that he wasn't going to live long. No sons, and now he has 2 to carry on his name. And I pray for them all the time, that the Lord would heal their bodies of anything that might be trying to attack their bodies, and just help them to grow to be strong men, strong and healthy men. And, you know, during that last pregnancy, I had no issues whatsoever with my blood pressure, even though they watched it, because, you know, now I have on my record that I've had high blood pressure. But I had no issues with my blood pressure at all. No issues with gestational diabetes. Like, everything was fine with my blood pressure. So, go figure, right? This is just encouragement. Especially for those of you who are on dialysis or have somebody on dialysis, or just any kind of chronic illness, but specifically for dialysis, because that's what we are coming from. That's what we know. Hold on in there. This could have been a video about dialysis specifically, and how we got the kidney, but this is more of just the emotions of how the Lord kind of turned around my journey of trying to be a living donor. I guess this is specifically for those who have thought about being a living donor. If you're praying about the situation, the Lord will work it out. He'll work it out. He'll work it out. Prayers to the family who lost a child. That person who gave up their kidney for Darius. Their life was lost. So prayers to that family. But also thank you so much to that family. I mean, our life today is night and day compared to what it was a few years ago. So, thank you. Anyway, I didn't mean to be on here crying, y'all. Those are the emotions that come up for me when I think about my firstborn son, Darius Jr. I'm so thankful for him. Conceived at a time when he probably shouldn't have even been conceived. You know, his dad asked when I found out I was pregnant. Pregnant by who? Because we literally weren't doing that much. But when I prayed to be conceived, I said, Lord, look, I know conceiving a child is the last thing on Darius's mind, and he's never in the mood for it. But Lord, this time I need you to have him in the mood. Like, when I'm ready, make him ready. And the Lord did just that. Like, maybe too much information, but maybe some of y'all need it out there. And if you are like me, you're the wife and you have a husband who all of a sudden needs a kidney transplant, and you're not sure if you want to go through with the donation, it's really understandable. Honestly, it's a lot. It's a lot to agree to. But what you can do, you can go through the process of donation. And basically, if you start going through the process of donation, it's not like as soon as you say, I want to donate my kidney, they're going to take it. They're not going to do that. Like, you have to go through, it's going to take a while for you to go through all the steps. As you're going through all the steps, if at any point they feel like you're not sure, like, you can sit there and be acting like you're sure, and they're going to ask so many questions and do so many tests. I mean, psychological tests and all kind of stuff. They're going to do so much. And if they, for any reason, feel like you're not sure, they're going to stop the process. And if they feel like you're doing it just because your husband wants you to do it or whoever wants you to do it, they're going to tell you, look, I can give you a reason why we had to stop it. Like, they will actually lie for you. They will say, oh, I'll tell your husband or whoever. Because they actually told me this. They were like, if at any point you don't want to give your kidney, but you feel like you don't want to tell your husband you don't want to give your kidney, we can give an excuse to your husband of why you couldn't give a kidney. Like, you don't have to worry about that. So just know that if you need a way out, they're going to give you an out. I didn't take that out because I just really wanted, we had little kids. I just needed him to go ahead and get a kidney. But you can go through the process and you can stop at any time. And they'll give your husband or whoever a reason why you couldn't do it if you're not sure. It's okay to not be sure, because it's a huge decision to make. And who knows, later on in life, you might need both of your kidneys. You never know. But that's your encouragement. That if it's causing strife in your relationship, because I know how people on dialysis are, they start to feel like, oh, nobody cares about me because nobody's trying to give me a kidney. You can go through the process to alleviate their feelings towards you. And they'll stop you before the end and tell you, look, you don't have to do this. It's a really thorough process, at least at UMC and especially at UAB, like UAB top tier. If I could recommend any hospital system, it's going to be UAB's in Alabama, in Birmingham. But anyway, that's all I wanted. Thank y'all for listening. If you listen this far, I know I talk way longer than I was supposed to. But hopefully this encouraged somebody. Please share the video if you think somebody could use it, if somebody's going through some of the same issues. Sorry for crying on camera. I did not plan on doing it. And sorry for my hair being kind of a mess, but I did put on a little makeup for y'all. So I'll be looking too slow on here. But thank y'all for listening. I hope this is encouragement for y'all. And if you are on dialysis right now, look, I'm praying for you. Like, I am praying for you. We know that life. We know that life. And hopefully, I can do more videos with Darius, more real videos with him, talking about the different aspects of dialysis, like the stuff that we went through, because we went through a lot. I've talked about a couple of those issues in this video, but I didn't talk about them in depth. Hopefully Darius will agree to do a couple of them and, give his side of the story, since he was the one on dialysis. But with that being said, thank y'all, love y'all, and peace.